Hey everybody, Spooky Marshmallow here, and today I am going to tell you about the stack of unread books that I currently have. These are all horror books. Some of these came from my horror book club that I'm in each month. We swap out books every once in a while. Some of them I bought from Goodwill. For some reason, our Goodwill has a really good selection of horror books. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, so I'm going to go through these books. These are books that I have bought with the intention of reading. Yes, I plan to read all of these within this year. That is my goal. So let's start. So this first one is, it's a novel by Howard Fast called The Dinner Party. Looks really good. So it says, in a remarkable tour de force, Howard Fast has placed the entire action of this highly charged novel in the space of one day at the substantial home of a prominent United States senator. It is morning, and the senator's wife is in the kitchen discussing arrangements for a dinner party with the cook and butler. The guests will be two senior officials from the administration, the senator's son and daughter, who are home from college, and the wealthy, influential parents of the senator's wife. It all sounds like a well-ordered and gracious affair. But as events unfold, the reader is battered from all sides by one startling revelation after another. There are things to be settled at this dinner party. Some are political and ethical, some are emotional, and some are questions of life and death. At the end of the book, the reader will have been exposed to many of the fundamental issues and problems that are racking our society. While this is a profound and important novel by a writer at the height of his powers, it also has the dramatic intensity of first-class theater. Few readers, after the first pages, will be able to put this book down, and fewer will be able to forget it. How awesome does that sound? Okay, so that's that one, and that one I got actually at Goodwill. Okay, the next one is Eileen Dreyer's Sinners and Saints. Forensic nurse Chastity Barnes is trying to put the past behind her. It has been 10 years since Chastity exposed her father for the monster he was. 10 years since she made the accusations that shattered her family and sent her into exile. 10 years since she's seen, not been, her sister Faith. Now, though, Faith needs her help. Chastity gets a call from Dr. Max Stanton, the brother-in-law she never knew she had, to tell her that Faith is missing. Max begs Chastity to come to New Orleans to help him find her. And even though Faith was the one who deserted Chastity so long ago, Chastity goes. To find her missing sister, Chastity has to battle her own demons in a city where forensics are an old boys club and a woman can find trouble in her sleep. She has to wade through distrust and deceit to get to the truth, whether she wants to hear it or not. She has to rediscover the sister she lost by investigating fertility clinics, the powers of St. Roch, and the mysteries of voodoo. She has to discover why women who might have helped her sister are dying. As a hurricane threatens the vulnerable city, Chastity puts more than her life at risk as she fights to rescue her sister from the threat that stalks them both. A searing portrait of family secrets and betrayals. Sinners and Saints is Eileen Dreyer at the top of her game. So, there's that one. Next up is Stephen King's Carrie. Now, I don't need to read the storyline of Carrie because you all should know what Carrie is. If you're watching this channel, you've seen Carrie, so you know what Carrie is. Next up is Stephen King's The Tommyknockers. Now, there's a reason why I'm going to read this, because, number one, it's Stephen King. Number two, because it sounds so interesting considering all the research I've been doing for an upcoming video about Tommyknockers. Now, mind you, this is a synchronicity, yeah, big word. I found this book, well, I had started researching the Tommyknocker story long before I found this book. Yes, how creepy is that? So when I saw this book, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is meant to be. I need to buy this book. So I got the book. Yes, so I will be reading that. This one is about, let's see if I can get to the synopsis here. I don't want to give too much of it away. Okay. Something was happening in Bobby Anderson's idyllic small town of Haven, Maine. Something that gave every man, woman, and child in town powers far beyond their ordinary mortals. Something that turned the town into a death trap from all outsiders. Something that came from a metal object, buried for millennia, that Bobby accidentally stumbled across. It wasn't that Bobby and the other good people of Haven had sold their souls to reap the rewards of the most deadly evil this side of hell. It was more like a diabolical takeover, an invasion of body and soul and mind. Ooh, riveting. Stephen King, so you know it's going to be good. It's also very long. But I'm wondering also if there was a movie made on this. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that and see. This book came out in 1988. So I'm going to look and see if there's an actual movie called The Tommyknockers. Okay, next up we have Paul Tremblay's A Head Full of Ghosts. This was on one of the list for the best horror books of all time, so I am so excited to read this. Get to the synopsis. The lives of the Barretts, a normal suburban New England family, are torn apart when 14-year-old Marjorie begins to display signs of acute schizophrenia. To her parents' despair, the doctors are unable to stop Marjorie's descent into madness. As the Barretts' stable home devolves into a house of horrors, they reluctantly turn to a local Catholic priest for help. Father Wanderley suggests an exorcism. He believes the vulnerable teenager is the victim of demonic possession. He also contacts a production company that is eager to document the Barretts' plight for a reality television show. When John, Marjorie's father, out of work for more than a year and medical bills looming, the family reluctantly agrees to be filmed, never imagining that the possession would become an instant hit. When events in the Barrett household explode in tragedy, the show and the shocking incidents it captures become the stuff of an urban legend. 15 years later, a best-selling writer interviews Marjorie's younger sister, Mary. As she recalls those long-ago events that took place when she was just 8 years old, secrets and painful memories that clash with what was broadcast on television begin to surface, and a mind-bending tale of psychological horror is unleashed, raising vexing questions about memory and reality, science and religion, and the very nature of evil. Ooh, I can't wait. This one's going to be awesome. Next up is, now this one I've already had, and I reviewed it, The Next to Die. I don't know how it ended up in this pile of books because I've already read this one and I've already reviewed it. It's accidentally in there. Okay, so that one's, yeah, no. Okay, next up then is Ghost Radio by Leopoldo Goutz. From the cramped bowels of a dimly lit radio station, Ghost Radio is beamed onto the airways. More than a call-in show for scary stories about vampires and poltergeists, Ghost Radio is a sanctuary for those sleepless denizens of the night, lost halfway between this world and the next. Joaquin, the hip, melancholy host, sits deep in a fog of cigarette smoke, fielding calls from believers and detractors alike. He is joined in the booth by his darkly beautiful girlfriend, Alondra, and his engineer, Watts. Originally an underground cult sensation, Ghost Radio is primed to break out to mainstream audiences with a huge radio conglomerate offers to syndicate the show. As Ghost Radio becomes a national hit with an expanding legion of hardcore fans, neither Joaquin, Alondra, nor Watts is remotely prepared for what is about to happen. When Joaquin starts noticing a curious and troubling phenomenon drifting into his broadcasts, he is inexplicably drawn further and further into the terrifying stories he solicits on the radio. As he slowly loses control over his reality and finds himself unable to distinguish between the real world and the world populated by the nightmares on Ghost Radio. He's forced to confront his past and his own mortality in order to repair the crumbling wall between the living and the dead. So this is Ghost Radio. Sounds really good. Next up is by one of my favorite authors of all time, H.P. Lovecraft, and this is The Road to Madness. I have not read this one, but I heard that it is one of his best, so I cannot wait to read this one. One of the most influential practitioners of American horror, H.P. Lovecraft, inspired the work of Stephen King, Anne Rice, Clive Barker, and many more. As he perfected his mastery of the macabre, his works developed from seminal fragments into acknowledged masterpieces of terror. This volume traces his chilling career and includes Imprisoned with the Pharaohs, At the Mountains of Madness, Herbert West Reanimator, Cool Air, The Terrible Old Man. So, Imprisoned with the Pharaohs says, Harry Houdini seeks to reveal the demons that inhabit the Egyptian night. At the Mountain of Madness is, an unsuspecting expedition uncovers a city of untold terror buried beneath an Antarctic wasteland. Herbert West's Reanimator, mad experiments yield hideous results in the inspiration for the cult film Reanimator, which is really good. Cool Air, an icy apartment hides secrets no man dares unlock. And The Terrible Old Man is the intruders seek a fortune but only find death. So that's this one. This one is The Road to Madness. I should review Reanimator. This is another H.P. Lovecraft. I cannot talk today, as you can tell. The Lovecraft Conundrum. Regarded by many as a masterpiece, The Call of Cthulhu is among H.P. Lovecraft's most famous works. Recounting the mastery of the cult of Cthulhu, it conjures up a dark and fascinating world. So here's that one. Next up we have by Dan Simmons, Drood, and it's a big one. This one's gonna take a while, yes. On June 9th, 1865, while traveling by train to London with his secret mistress, 53-year-old Charles Dickens, at the height of his powers and popularity, the most famous and successful novelist in the world, hurtled into a disaster that changed his life forever. Did Dickens begin living a double life after the accident? Were his nightly forays into the worst slums of London and his deepening obsession with corpses, crypts, murder, opium dens, lion pits, and a hidden London beneath London mirror research, or something much darker? Based on the historical details of Charles Dickens' life and narrated by Wilkie Collins, Dickens' friend, frequent collaborator, and Solari-esque secret rival, Drood explores the still unsolved mysteries of the author's last years and may provide the key to his final unfinished work. The Mastery of Evan Drood. Chilling, haunting, and utterly original, Drood is Dan Simmons at his powerful best. So there's this one too. Sounds really, really good. And so, last we have The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I just thought this just looked really fun. So being Southern now, I really wanted to see it. I just think it's going to be a fun type of book. So this says, in every book we read, no one ever thought anything bad was happening until it was too late. Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic, her teenage kids have their own lives, her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. At these meetings, they're as likely to talk about the Manson family as they are about their own families. One evening, after book club, Patricia is viciously attacked by an elderly neighbor, bringing the neighbor's handsome nephew, James Harris, into her life. James is well-traveled and well-read, and he makes Patricia feel things she hasn't felt in years. But when children on the other side of town go missing, their deaths written off by local police, Patricia has reason to believe James Harris is more of a Bundy than a Brad Pitt. The real problem? James is a monster of a different kind, and Patricia has already invited him in. Little by little, James will insinuate himself into Patricia's life and try to take everything she took for granted, including the book club. But she won't surrender without a fight in this blood-soaked tale of neighborly kindness gone wrong. Doesn't that sound fun? Yeah, I'm really gonna like this. Yeah, this is just like a little fun book, and that's gonna be the last book. So, yeah, so I have a certain order on how I want to read these. I know, it's so weird, right? But there's a reason for my insanity, believe me. Okay, so that's going to do it for today's video. If you have read any of these books below, don't give away any spoilers, but do tell us what you thought of the book or books that you may have read in this section, what your thoughts were on the books, if you liked them. Let me know also, like, if there was any miniseries or movies created out of any of these books that I might want to check out and review. So, thank you so much for watching. Oh, and you might notice there's nothing behind me but an abandoned little lonely shelf. Yes, that is because I'm in the process of moving again. Yes. So, same state, just different town. So, that's going on, yes. But we are still house hunting, but I wanted to get a leg up on packing. So anyway, that's why from now on you'll see me sitting in front of a blank wall for a while. Alright, that's going to do it for today's video. I'm Spooky Marshmallow. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, stay spooky, my friends.